Have to let go of the victim mentality and embrace the victor mentality, because that's the only way you're ever gonna make it through. The story you're telling yourself. Are you telling yourself you don't have an opportunity because you're black? Are you telling yourself that because of the color of your skin, you have less of an opportunity than anyone else? Is that the story you're gonna tell to kind of have this mindset? Because with the George Floyd protest going on back in 2020, it led me down a rabbit hole that I'm really grateful for. It led me down a rabbit hole because, I saw a lot of people posting black squares. I see a lot of people just like protesting all this craziness going on, right? And during this time, my perspective was really was challenged, and going down this rabbit hole, I felt like I was like, like a phoenix, just rising from the ashes with a new mindset, a new perspective, because, I just started doing research for myself. I started to explore different things more, because that time in isolation, you're on your phone a little bit more, you start doing research more, and when you're doing these things and you're researching more, and you start to think, oh shit, like, there's really more to it than meets the eye, right? And that's when I discovered Mansa Musa, because one of my homies told me about it, and I was like, there's no way the richest man to ever live was black, right? And I'm like, oh shit, that actually is true. And when I read into that, I was like, it led me down a rabbit hole of like researching black history, and I started to see it for the full picture. And that was really transformative for my mindset, because before that, I had this mindset where it was like, because in your whole life you're being told that, because you're black, you're at a disadvantage. Because you're black, they're going to take this applicant over you, or because you're black, this, that, and the third, right? And they tell you about systemic racism, nepotism, all these different things, right? And it's like, bro, that I had to change. And that comes back to the question. That's why knowing your history, knowing about Mansa Musa is so important, because it's like, what are you telling yourself as a black person? What are the stories that you're telling yourself as a black person, right? So if you're telling yourself, okay, like, I don't have opportunities like everybody else, I can't move up the ranks, like, you know what I mean? That you're telling yourself all these things, right? And it's like, bro, it is 2024. At this point, we can't keep blaming white people for why we're not where we want to be. We can't blame systemic racism for why we're not where we want to be. We have to let go of the victim mentality and embrace the victor mentality, because that's the only way you're ever gonna make it through. Because if you're constantly thinking to yourself, oh, because I'm black, I can't do this. Oh, because I'm black, I can't do this. Well, then that's the reality you create for yourself, right? So I'm challenging you to think in a different way. Think like, get rid of the victim mentality. Think of yourself as a victor. Look at like, yes, there was a bad period in history. Slavery did happen. It was bad what happened and all that stuff, right? And it did set us back, right? But at the same time, you can't let that bad period of history determine the rest of your life. You can't let this mindset of like, oh, because I'm black, I can't do this, I can't do that. You got to get rid of that mindset, because if you stay in that mindset, you're going to be stuck forever. Anyone who's ever done anything great was at a disadvantage in their life, right? Like, every story you read about a hero, the hero always was at a disadvantage, right? But he always rises above to the challenge and takes out the Goliath, or takes out the dragon, right? You gotta shift the way you view yourself. You gotta shift the way we view ourselves as black people. Shift the way you think. Shift the way you think about yourself. So have some like pride. Have some belief in yourself, bro. Like, you gotta start, like, bro, I'm getting heated because it's like, this is some stuff you gotta know, bro. Like, you gotta see yourself like, bro, I'm him. I'm that guy, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta have that confidence to yourself as a black person, right? Like, yeah, there was a bad period of history where slavery happened and we weren't treated the best. But before that, the story was totally different. There was guys like the Moors, Mansa Musa, you had Yusuke, you had all these different things. Right, so that's why it's important to know the history as a whole, because then you start to shift the way you think about yourself. You start to shift the way you view your identity as a black person, right? We'll get back to the video in a minute, but first I want to talk to you about Pova University. It's an online fitness community that I launched this year in 2024. Where people with like-minded individuals looking to get in shape, live healthier lifestyles, and connect with other people who are like-minded. Link in the description if you want to join. You get access to workout plans, courses. You'll even have me helping you every step of the way to reach your fitness goals. And you'll also have a group of like-minded people as well to learn from to reaching your fitness goals. So let's reach our fitness goals together. and let's level up together in 2024. So check the link in description, Hope University. I'll see you in there, and let's get to work. Without further ado, let's get back to the video. You can't set all these terms determine who you want to be in life, right? Now I'm going to give an example. For example, with the 2020 stuff, right? Going on with George Floyd, people were yelling ACAB at the top of their lungs and all of that stuff, right? It was one of those things where it's like, you know, we hate on the system. Oh, systemic racism, the systemic racism that we hate on the system. We protest and stuff. And, you know, protesting, it's not the end all be all, right? Like, yes, Martin Luther King and all those people, they peacefully protested to get where we are. But it's 2024. We have to do more, right? And protesting is not the end all be all, right? It's not going to get you to the end result. If you want to change the system, you got to be the change you want to see. You have to enter the system itself. You got to infiltrate the system. Get involved in the industry. For example, you know, people were talking about ACAB, all this type of stuff, putting up black squares, saying, oh, screw all cops, all that stuff. Well, what if you became a cop? What if you entered the police industry, become the best in the industry, and create a name for yourself, and then maybe once you gain merit, then people will start to pay attention to you, be like, wow, and then it sends a message to other people, other black people, and be like, oh wow, like he became a cop, maybe I can do that too, right? And then you start to see more representation within that industry, and even when you move up, the more you move up, the more merit you gain, you have the more power to make changes, therefore being the change you want to see, right? You're able to get into rooms, talk to certain people, make the changes that you want to see, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the solution for black issues is to get involved in an industry that you see an issue. For example, you see an issue with the police force, join the police force, gain momentum in that industry, become the best in that industry, and dominate it, bro. Peaceful protesting, it helps and all that stuff, but I think we could take a more active role. You know what I'm saying? For example, getting involved with the police force, getting involved with government, maybe get involved with lobbying, representation you want to see, right? Like, we gotta stop sitting on the sidelines, be social justice warriors, all this type of stuff, because I don't think that's working, right? Like, there was a time back in the day where protesting was cool and all that, and it probably, you know, did draw some eyeballs, but I think now in 2024, there needs to be more action, right? We need to get rid of this victim mentality and embrace a victor mentality, right? Like that, and it comes back to the question that, like, I feel like the theme too for this episode is just like, what is the story you're telling yourself as a black person? What is the story you're telling yourself? Are you telling yourself you don't have an opportunity because you're black? Are you telling yourself that because of the color of your skin, you have less of an opportunity than anyone else? Is that the story you're going to tell yourself? Is that what you're going to tell yourself for the rest of your life? Hell no, I ain't gonna tell myself, I don't care what nepotism, I don't care what systemic racism, I don't give a shit, bro, because I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be. I don't care who's in my way, who's gonna tell me otherwise. I'm gonna achieve all my goals, and I'm gonna be who I wanna be. You might argue with me and say like, oh, systemic racism, it won't let you advance. It's easier said than done, right? Well, everything is easier said than done, right? Like, Martin Luther King said it best. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving forward. And that's what we gotta do as black people. We gotta keep moving forward, right? It's not gonna be all these things entering the system. It's not gonna be easy. Of course, there's gonna be adversity. But guess what? Any great story has adversity. It's just one of those things where it's like anything that you want to do that's hard, that's worth doing. It's never going to be easy, but that's the beauty in it. Because imagine the story that you get to tell when you actually make it. That's what matters, bro. Like, we got to start changing the way we think as black people, right? We always want to just be like, oh, victim mentality this, victim mentality that. Like, oh, because I'm black, I'm at a disadvantage. Oh, because I'm black this, oh, because I'm black that. But if you can walk, talk, breathe, think here, you have every opportunity like everybody else. I'm at that point where I'm like, I don't care about no nepotism. I don't care about no systemic racism. That is stopping me from achieving my goals and going after what I want to do. Because I'm going to achieve it. I don't give a shit who's in my way. I'm going to get it, bro. Like, that's the mindset you got to have. So, like, once I started researching black history at its fullest, right, I started to, you know, look at things other than slavery. Look at the full history. That's when my mindset started to change. That's when I started to see myself as a victor instead of a victim, right? We gotta start shifting the mindset. Like, how do you see yourself as a black person? What are the stories you're telling yourself? What kind of narratives are you feeding yourself, right? Once we start embracing the victor mentality and start entering these different industries and becoming who we want to be and going after our goals, doing the things that, we truly want to do and making a name for ourselves, right? Other young black people start to do, and it's cause a ripple effect, and and it inspires them to do the same, and then so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? And then we can enter these places of power, right? Once we start becoming the best in our industry, gaining merit, we can start making these decisions to make changes and maybe give back to our communities and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it starts with changing the way you view yourself as a black person, right?
If you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the full podcast, click right here, like right now.